Hello, welcome to our final report to the board. Our company name is Sunny Cycles. My name is Emma, and the other executives in our group are Satoya, who's president, Nolan, vice president of marketing, Lindsay, vice president of sales. I'm vice president of manufacturing and human resources, as well as Cole, who is vice president of accounting and finance and business analytics. So I'm going to pass it off to Satoya, who is going to get into our executive summary.
Thank you, Emma, for that wonderful introduction. As she stated, my name is Satoya Alexander, and I'm the president and CEO of Sunny Cycles. I am very excited to be going over quarter 6, which was our strongest overall quarter. Our total performance rating reached about 4.928 with a revenue of approximately 3.18 million and net income of approximately 1.39 million. Our profit margin reached 43.69%, which was the highest in the industry. We also finished with the highest human resource management score at 0.925, and we maintained a perfect financial risk score of 1.000. Although we had major successes, we also had challenges. Our biggest challenge was production capacity. We were generating demand, but we did not always have the product available to meet it. Although we did not finish at the top overall, as a team, we all agreed that we finished stronger, more profitable, and better positioned for continuous growth. I will now be going over our overall corporate strategy. Our overall corporate strategy was simple. We focused on building Sunny Cycles for long-term growth rather than chasing short-term results. From the beginning, we wanted to establish a strong market presence, become profitable, invest in our future, and maintain our good neighbor philosophy. Throughout the simulation, we stayed committed to that strategy, even when our early results didn't quite show what we wanted them to show. We continue to invest in the future of our company, our products, and our employees because we believe those investments would eventually produce stronger results. As we moved through each quarter, our strategy shifted from simply building the foundation of the company to maximizing those investments that we had already made. By quarter 6, we began to see that strategy pay off with stronger profitability and overall improvement. So while the ride was definitely bumpy, we stayed committed to our original vision. We didn't abandon the strategy when things got difficult. We adjusted our tactics, learned from our results, and continued moving Sunny Cycles forward. Another part of moving Sunny Cycles forward was within our marketing department. For this, I'm going to pass it over to Nolan Greaves, our Vice President of Marketing.
Thank you, Satoya. I'm going to go over the marketing slide of our business and some main results we saw in quarter 6. For marketing quarter 6, it showed that there was some strong growth in demand, but it also showed we had a lot of room to improve the overall market position. Starting with this demand, we increased from about 1,700 units to about 2,800 units, 2,804 to be exact, in quarter 6. This was a major improvement and showed that our marketing efforts were helping us generate more customer interest. Before the ill will adjustment, we actually generated 2,868 units of demand, but we lost 64 because of the ill will penalty from lost sales in quarter 5, which brought it back down. This was important because it showed us that marketing does not stop once the demand is created. If we attract customers but can't meet that demand, it can affect the customer satisfaction and hurt future demand. In our case, we lost sales from quarter 5, slightly reduced our quarter 6 results. Looking at our individual brands, so Turbo 2 was clearly one of our strongest products. This generated 1,453 units of net demand, which represented about 51.8% of our total quarter 6 demand. Daisy Designs was our second strongest with 999 units, which was about 35.6%. Together, these two brands made up most of our sales. This showed that Terrain Turbo 2 and Daisy Designs were connecting better with customers than our others. Soaring Sunny 3 only generated 352, while Durable Design didn't have any demand at all. From a marketing perspective, this showed that we need to continue supporting our strongest brands while also looking at why some of the other products didn't perform as well. We continued investing in marketing and search engine marketing to support top brands and increase the awareness. One thing I learned through the simulation was spending more money on marketing doesn't automatically mean the market share increases. The product still has to be positioned. Well. Positioned to reach the correct customers and provide something that these customers will value compared to the competition. This becomes very clear looking at overall market share. Even though our demand increased, we only finished with 7.75% of the total market. We had 2,804 units of demand out of a total of more than 36,000 units. Our competitors were pretty far ahead from us. Carbon Bike King had the highest, and then followed by Sustainable and Summit at 23.32%. Another weakness that our position had across the different market segments, Sunny Cycles had 11.28% of the recreation market and 12.38% of the mountain market, but we had 0% in the speed. And that limited us in our ability for the overall market share and gave competitors a big edge to us. So going forward, one of our biggest opportunities would be improving our brand positioning, expanding our market reach, and we'd want to continue supporting Terrain Turbo 2 and Daisy Designs because those were our strongest. Overall, we showed that marketing was generating more demand, but increased demand did not automatically mean stronger market share. The biggest takeaway was we needed to compare our performance not only to our previous quarters. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Lindsay, who will go into our sales performance and results.
For sales, our performance improved significantly from quarter 4 through quarter 6. In quarter 4, we generated 781 units of demand and sold 626 units. By quarter 5, demand increased to 1,702 units, and we sold 1,627. Then, in quarter 6, we reached our highest level of demand at 2,804 units and sold 2,589 units. One of the main decisions that supported this growth was expanding our sales force as demand increased. We went from 7 sales and service employees in quarter 4 to 12 in quarter 5, and ultimately 21 in quarter 6. By the final quarter, we were generating about 133.5 units of demand per salesperson. This showed us that increasing our sales presence was effective in supporting the growth we were seeing in the market. Our strongest brand was Terrain Turbo 2. It generated 1,453 units of demand in quarter 6, which represented about 52% of our total demand. Daisy Designs was also a major contributor with 999 units, or about 36% of total demand. Together, those two brands generated the majority of our customer demand. However, one of the biggest challenges we faced was actually converting all of that demand into completed sales. In quarter 6, we lost 215 potential sales because of stockouts. So even though the sales team was successfully generating demand, we did not have enough inventory available to meet all of it. This was an important lesson for us because it showed how closely sales and manufacturing decisions are connected. Expanding the sales force helped generate more demand, but our production capacity did not increase enough to fully support that growth. In hindsight, our sales forecasts and manufacturing decisions needed to be more closely aligned. Another thing we learned that was simply increasing the size of the sales force was not enough on its own. As demand continued to grow, we had to consider whether the rest of the company could support that growth. This became especially clear in quarter 6, when our strongest sales results also came with our highest number of lost sales. This also helps explain why our market performance did not improve as much as our sales growth might suggest. We were generating substantially more demand by the end of the simulation, but competitors were also growing, and losing sales to stockouts prevented us from capturing all of the market opportunity we created. Overall, I would consider our sales performance a strong improvement from quarter 4 through quarter 6. We successfully increased demand, expanded the sales team, and developed Terrain Turbo 2 into our strongest brand. At the same time, the 215 lost units in the final quarter showed us that generating demand is only valuable if the rest of the business has the capacity to fill it. Going forward, our main priority would be better coordination between sales forecasting and production planning. If we had been able to match inventory more closely with the brand our sales team was generating, we could have captured additional sales and potentially improved our overall market performance. I will now pass it over to Emma to discuss our manufacturing performance.
All right, so going through manufacturing, so quarter 4, quarter 5, quarter 6, our action comparison. So starting off, we did not have enough fixed capacity all through the 3 quarters. It hurt our overall profits, and through this I kind of jumped from our plan and I added overtime. I did add a fixed capacity in quarter 5, but compared to competitors, I didn't know that there would be a huge jump in the need for demand. So in the future, we would definitely add 3 more fixed capacities just to have our operating capacity higher. So moving to that production volume in significant events, so the need for higher capacity. The one positive thing noted in this section is the lost capacity due to productivity. So our team definitely focused on productivity in all areas and employee morale, so that our production workers had their increased percentages of satisfaction went up. So there was a decrease across the 3 quarters. So it went from 22, 21 to 14, which just shows that we didn't lose a lot of capacity due to our employees' productivity. So another big event would be cutting durable designs, which increased Terrain Turbos and Daisy designs. So looking at the bottom right tables, you can see in the top one that this is quarter 6, so 922 for Daisy designs and 1342 for Terrain Turbos, and the one below that shows quarter 5, which was 556 for Daisy designs and 848 for Terrain Turbos. So this kind of was a big jump for our company, because selling more of the Terrain Turbos and that mountain bike that's a little bit more expensive helped our revenue a lot, and cutting the durable designs, which we were investing money in marketing, helped us in that sense. Another key performance indicator is the lost sales, in which was 215 on stockout. So improving this, definitely once again implementing more fixed capacity and working with sales a little bit more to determine that demand. Other significant events included the employee surveys. So we added system improvements, cross training, gyms, respirators, air filters, grant programs to overall have better satisfaction for our employees, but also so it wouldn't affect our manufacturing. I will go a little bit more into that in human resources, which is the next slide. So moving to the human resource department, we have a heavy investment in compensation package. So in quarter 2 and 3, I went over with financials to give our employees a better package compared to competitors because we were lacking in the satisfaction and the employee morale. So we had 65 in the employee morale for quarters 2 and 3, and then it jumped up overall throughout quarter 4, 5, and 6, which was beneficial to our manufacturing, and there was limited lost sales due to productivity because we had all this compensation for our employees amongst production supervisors as well as sales. So we didn't really have a departure from our business plan after we saw the difference between our company and the other companies. So looking at the payment, you can see how we went from $2,495 to $18,000 in production worker compensation in the end. The significant events that caused this was the employee survey showing monotonous work, no teamwork, role conflict, etc. The employment involvement was lacking in Q4, 5, and in Q6 it showed that we had 68 conscious actions, first amongst the competitors, which we made it a great place for our employees to work. So our goal was to decrease this turnover, improve employee morale in the compensation package. Our turnover went from 34% to 4% in the end. So overall, I think that our human resources did really well in all the quarters in adjusting to competitors. So I will hand it off to financials.
For my section, I will review Sunny Cycle's financial performance from quarters 4 through 6. I will also explain how our investment decisions affected wealth creation and investment risk. So quarter 4, it was our most difficult financial period. Revenue was about $755,000, while total expenses reached about $1.989 million. This resulted in a net loss of about $1.515 million, and the main reason was that our decision to invest heavily in our business. Research and development alone was about $1.83 million in quarter 4, and we also spent heavily on system improvements. So those decisions increased short-term costs, but were intended to support future growth. The results improved significantly in quarter 5, and revenue increased to nearly $2 million. Net income improved to about $301,000. This was an important turning point, and that was because the company moved from a major loss to positive earnings in one quarter. So quarter 6, it showed an even stronger result. Revenue increased again to about $3.175 million, and gross profit reached to about $2.109 million. So net income reached about $1.387 million. And at the same time, total expenses declined to about $721,000. So this combination of stronger revenue and lower expenses, it created a much healthier financial position by the end of our simulation. And our investment in the future, it also remained a major part of the strategy. The cumulative investment in future score, it finished at about 5.514, and the industry average was 5.286. So this means Sunny Cycles invested slightly more aggressively than the average competitor. And the early cost of that strategy was visible in quarter 4. So the benefit became much clearer in quarters 5 and 6. Creation of wealth was more mixed. Our cumulative wealth score finished at about 0.972, and the average for the industry was 1.88. We ended below the industry average because the earlier losses continued to affect the cumulative result. And even so, the strong profit in quarter 6, it showed that the company was moving in the right direction. So financial risk was one of our strongest areas. Our cumulative financial risk score, it was 1.00, and this matched the industry maximum average. We were able to make major investments without creating additional financial risk through debt. Overall, our cumulative financial performance score, it finished at 18.869, and that was below the industry average of 41.319. So the biggest reason was the size of our earlier losses, but however, the final two quarters, they showed that our strategy produced a strong recovery. So the key financial lesson was that large investments, they hurt short-term results. They can still create value when the business converts those investments into stronger revenue and profitability. Sunny Cycles finished much stronger than it was in quarter four. That's it for the financial performance section. I will now pass it over to Satoya for our goals and achievements section.
When we started Sunny Cycles, our goals were pretty straightforward. We wanted to establish a strong market presence, become profitable, invest in our future, operate efficiently, and continue our good neighbor policy. We didn't accomplish every goal as planned, but we did have some major achievements. We finished with the highest human resources management score in the industry at 0.925, an investment in the future score of 5.514, and a perfect financial risk score of 1.000. One of our biggest achievements was to remain profitable while continuously investing in our company. By quarter 6, we were able to see the results of many of the decisions and investments we had made earlier in the simulation. Our biggest accomplishment, in my opinion, was our ability to recognize where we were struggling, make adjustments, and continuously improve. While we may not have finished number 1 overall, we built a stronger company and we ended in a better position than where we started. I will now be passing this along to Emma, who will be going over our company reflections.
All right, so our final reflection. So in the future, our preparations will include adding fixed capacity, so going from 32 to 64 to have that operating capacity, revising brands to increase brand judgment, Soaring Sunnies, specifically Soaring Sunnies to modify compared to other recreational competitors and getting that percentage above the 70s, 75s. Introducing maybe another mountain segment. Our group talked about this since our Turbo Terrain did really well against competitors as our secondary brand, as our secondary segment. Continue to invest in highest selling bikes, marketing, and ads, as well as SEMs. Just investing in those brands that we have created a lot of demand behind and reputation behind to increase our financials, so increasing those profits and balancing investments to reduce our risk, since we did have a lot of risk throughout all of our quarters, highlighting what we need and don't need to cut costs. So our lessons learned, we learned to plan ahead. Communication is vital in all areas, not just one group or one executive to another, all of the executives. It's important for them to know what's going on with all the departments and spend money early. We were a little, we didn't spend as much in the beginning, so I think that we needed to spend more on fixed capacity, a little bit more on marketing, have a little bit more brands for the customers. As a team, we benefited through our knowledge of creating a business and working together, which can carry to the business world. All the information, our challenging functional integration, making decisions in every department, and also understanding every single principle. I think this is super important in the business world right now within any industry, because you kind of see how the operations are working in each of the departments, and they kind of go hand in hand. So taking this information into our jobs will be really beneficial. But the simulation was great, and thank you for listening to our presentation.